Hello, hello. Oh, I made this mistake the last time. Let me just kill off that video. All right. Sorry about the connection here. It's a little bit not ideal. The internet is a little bit tough here from the location where I am right now, but I hope everything will work out nicely. We have a very, very exciting stream in front of us. We have a guest today, Tony Simek, that will join us and tell about his work with Dronelinks. And I haven't been messing around with that software a lot, but that's a big mistake from the preview that I've been seeing, because it seems you will be able to do some pretty crazy stuff with that software. But I will not spoil this, so I will start by bringing in Tony here to the stream so we can start kicking off this discussion. Oh, no audio. Still no audio. We need to make sure that there's audio. Can you hear me?
Hi, Henrik. Well, famous words, Henrik. I think you're on mute.
Yeah. I've never been. Okay, so welcome to the stream. Let me just, instead of doing like artificial
Yes. Yeah.
comments,
What?
what I was trying to say before the audio cut out was that I'm very happy to have you here on the live stream, and I'm very excited to what it is that you're going to share with me and the audience. What I've seen so
Absolutely.
far is pretty cool. And I don't think we should waste much more time with me babbling around because I know you have prepared some really exciting stuff. So I will
Absolutely.
pull in the presentation. Maybe you want to
Okay.
make sure that this one is like it's supposed to be. So
Yep. Well, I'll introduce myself, and I do want to say, first of all, thank you for having me, Henrik. It is always great to present for you, for your channel, and your viewers. I am a drone. I started as a drone hobbyist. I've been on a few of your presentations, but short story is I run a very small one-person company doing drone videography and photography here in Arizona. I have really enjoyed getting into the hobby and have learned a lot over the last few years. One of the things that I set out to do, being a software guy, is I really wanted to understand how to automate my flights. It became kind of a fixation for me with the belief that I could get to 100% automation for the business and have very little things left to risk or chance. And so that's really what started me on this journey. So let's talk about flight automation. And first, I think I should answer kind of the whys of why automate and why I did this. Um, the biggest business type that I got, at least initially, was vacant parcels. This was large swaths of land out in the middle of nowhere. And, although I live in the desert, I imagine this applies to just about anywhere, which is it's very hard to go somewhere and understand exactly where a parcel's boundaries are. When you're sitting on the ground, or even once you've launched your drone, it's very hard to match up things when there's no reference points and everything just starts to look similar. So I found that drone automation would help me identify with scientific accuracy, with some real precision, where the parcels actually were. And of course, with that came a lot of requests for orthomosaics, 3D mapping, digital elevation surface models, to be able to understand if somebody's going to build on this vacant parcel, what grading are they going to have to do? What kind of water remediation are they going to have to do? So these mapping and photographic requests, they started as marketing and artistic, and they turned into more scientific. So these are two big reasons. Of course, the third reason for drone automation is if you want to do construction progress monitoring over time, it's important to fly the same route. If
yeah,
you do a different video each time you do a progress update, it's very hard to do a stare and compare, or better yet, a synthesis of multiple versions. So that's flight repeatability. Consistency for me, at least early on, and Henrik, I don't know what your experience has been, but when I'm paid to go out and do some photography or videography, I get home, I dump the memory card, and inevitably
yeah,
I've forgotten one or two very important shots. So
yeah.
this is to
That's
take care of my bad memory.
that's a classic.
Yes, and reusable elements, being able to spend the time at the computer a few times and then know each and every time I go out to fly a mission, I get the shots that I want. So I like the reusability. Um, the other thing that you're going to see as I show you Dronelink is the ability to preview exactly what you're going to film. For me, that builds confidence. I know that I'm going to get a perfectly framed shot of the subject property or the building or the subject that I'm wanting to film, and I don't have to guess what kind of photo or video I'm going to get when I get back home and dump the memory card. So for me, that's just huge. The other thing you get out of it is documentation. You get your metadata, your log files, you get a lot of good information that you can use to store for various purposes, proving that you were there at a certain date of time. I mean, all things that you get from EXIF files and video, but for me, there was value in that documentation. So that's the why I'm doing this. The what, what is automation? How is this even possible? Well, we've likely, if you've been flying drones for a while, you've heard of things called waypoints, where you could pre-program the drone to fly specific waypoints. Dronelink supports this to a degree, but that's not really what Dronelink does. Dronelink is more about I think it's a better system called virtual sticks, where your control device, your remote controller, and this application running either on a tablet or phone or as part of a smart controller, RC Pro, etc. Strike that on RC. I'll come back to that later. But the key thing is that virtual sticks are what is actually controlling the drone in real time. So it's telemetry going back and forth between the drone, your controller, and the application. The application is making virtual inputs to the sticks that are controlling the drone in real time. Nothing has been preloaded on the drone. The drone is not flying autonomously minus the controller and the application. So that's how virtual sticks are different than waypoints. The other piece of automation, and this is common to pretty much all of the automation apps that I've seen, they have a planning phase where you plan the mission, and then they have a mission execution phase where you go to actually execute the mission. I like to do the planning on the web version, a full-size screen, full-size browser, using Chrome or what have you, plan the mission. That is saved in the cloud. The application on the tablet or phone or smart controller can then go access that mission. You then press play or start and actually execute the mission. And that's where the application, Dronelink in this case, is actually taking control of the drone and executing that mission. You still have ultimate authority. You can always stop the program. You can always interject yourself and take control of the drone. DJI, if you execute the return to home functionality, that's going to also stop the mission and take control of the drone. So that's automation. A word of caution.
Tony?
Yes, sir.
Is there room for a question or two?
Yeah, absolutely.
Or you want to do that later? You want to proceed with the presentation, or can we just ask? Like, can I ask a question?
You are the boss. You can always jump in, Henrik. What do you think?
Because the mission is not stored directly on the drone, what happens if you lose connection?
Yeah,
if it goes behind a building or something.
Yeah, absolutely. What happens if it goes behind a building or you just get a weak signal because of interference? The mission will stop executing and the drone will use whatever settings you've programmed in the drone software natively. So if you've set it to
hover or it will return to home or whatever it's programmed for.
Exactly, and it can and does happen. Not every mission is ideal for virtual sticks. If that happens, the drone does exactly as you would expect. Dronelink doesn't interfere in those safety measures that exist within the drone natively, which is a good thing.
Does it actually know where the drone is? Is that information being conveyed back to Dronelink?
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
So it does know where it is. So it's not like it's just operating the drone So there's some sort of a feedback loop. So it will stay more or less on the where it's supposed to go.
Oh, it will stay precisely. And I'm going to show you some examples of that. It is so good at being very precisely controlled. And one of the nice things in Dronelink that I've been able to leverage is there's a setting when you're building the mission, and I'll show it, account for high wind, which is if I'm doing an orthomosaic mapping and I want the drone to do these nice straight rows of -90 degree down pictures, right? And the wind kicks up, Dronelink can actually slow down the drone to accommodate for the forces against it, that wind pushing on it. It's just, this is what's, the other title of this presentation could be what made me profitable and repeatable, and that's Dronelink. Yeah, I'm not doing a commercial for Dronelink. I have nothing to do with the company other than being a user of the software. I'm obviously a huge fan of it because I banged my head with other solutions first, trying to get professional results. Didn't really find it until I came across Dronelink, and I'm so glad that I did. The word of caution at the bottom of the slide is that the drone does have to have an SDK that allows for virtual sticks. Dronelink can't do this unless it has an SDK from the manufacturer that it can talk to. So not every drone is going to be supported by Dronelink. If they don't have an SDK, Dronelink, as soon as an SDK is released, you will be amazed at how fast Dronelink will support it, even if just in beta. When the Mini 3 Pro came out with their SDK, Dronelink was already ready. And I think it was just a day or two later, they had their first beta ready to go for it. Just brilliant.
And you know what's funny? It's because the SDK they released for the Mini 3 Pro is actually version 5. So all of the other companies that are doing third-party apps, they are struggling a lot. I talked to the developer of the Maven app, and he has kind of given up because he has to rewrite everything from scratch to make it work with this. So it's amazing that they actually jumped in and made something this fast.
Yeah, and they did it for the Mavic 3 Enterprise, which is also using version 5. So I'm talking about Dronelink's efforts. They had software for me with the Mavic 3 Enterprise the first week that I had my Mavic 3 Enterprise, and they've just recently added RTK support. They've been very impressive and very good to be a customer. It's been a very positive customer relationship for me. So Dronelink is, again,
there
the
are
subject
2 questions in the chat. So maybe you can just grab those until on the.
Sure. What do we got?
Yeah. So that's the first one here. Oh, what is going on? What is it doing? I
don't know.
How much is Dronelink?
How much? So it depends upon how you're going to use it.
Yeah. How much this was? $99 for like a.
I've spent a little more, but that you can start inexpensively. They've got plans for both the hobbyist and the professional. The goal with the hobbyist account is that you're not doing commercial work. If you're gonna, you should try it with the hobbyist plan, and if you like what you see, and you're actually using it in a drone business, then they do want you to get a commercial license, and I think that's very, very fair. The hobbyist plan is, I believe, a lifetime license. It doesn't expire, so it's kind of a good deal. I'd say if they still have that offer for a lifetime license, get the hobbyist plan. I think there's a few different levels. I got the top tier, and I think it was $99, but it was a few years back that I paid, and I've never really enhanced that license. I did get a professional license because I was doing commercial, I am doing commercial work with it, and I felt, given my usage of it and how much it's helped my business, that was the fair thing to do. And that's how you stay, without violating their terms of service. Of course, Dronelink has to, I want them to be there for the next mission, and I would be devastated if they weren't. So if you're doing it commercially, give them their money. So great application. And you said there was a second question? Henrik, hopefully we're still connected. All right, I'm going to take a time out. I'm going to guess that maybe we've lost connection with Henrik.
So head to the stream. Yeah, we're
still here. You're back. Okay, so the stream is still going,
we're still
right,
live,
Henrik?
and the stream is still going. So it's I'm sorry about that. But
no problem. I concluded by answering the first question, and I was just asking if there's a second question. I think you said there were 2 questions in chat.
Yeah, that was. I think you already answered that. Which DJI drones are compatible?
Yeah, check Dronelink's list because that's changing all the time. So, and I just reshared my screen. So if you want to be sure to put that into the stream, I will resume with the how, and we'll get right to it and show the application.
Yeah. So I will not. I will stop interrupting you because otherwise we will never be done with this presentation. So let's
Okay.
catch up on the questions at the end.
All right, sounds good, Henrik. I can do it either way. So I've covered the why, we talked about the what. Now I'd kind of like to jump into the how, and I'd like to show you how I use Dronelink in my business. One of the first steps of using Dronelink really relates to how I onboard a client, which is I'll bid the work. I do use pilot networks like Droners and a few others. But what I like to do is send the client a YouTube video of what their property would look like planned up in Dronelink. And what I do is I show them the flight I'm going to fly, the shots I'm going to take. I can show them the pictures I'm going to take. What you're looking at right now is the Dronelink mission preview, where I've highlighted the property and created my orbits, created my waypoints, my movements of the gimbal. Again, this is why I'm not guessing at exactly what I'm going to get out of the mission. So I do this client onboarding process, just a real brief step, so that the client knows exactly what I'm going to be doing when I get out to their property. I can also give them an estimate. Hey, it's going to take me 20 minutes of flying or 40 minutes of flying. And I don't have to guess at how many pictures and how many videos I'll actually be able to generate for them. So those are the steps that I go through to onboard a client. So that's mission planning. A little bit more about that, again, is that I actually, and this is a real mission now that I'm going to share. This is one that I flew. This is right near the border with Arizona and Las Vegas. And this was a customer that had a vacant parcel. It was up on a hill. So they wanted an orthomosaic with a digital surface model. And he also wanted some marketing shots because he was actually planning, if he couldn't build, he was going to put it up for sale. So this is greatly sped up. I've got the video greatly sped up, but the drone's not really whipping around at that speed. But you can see that I had the GPS coordinates of all of the boundaries. This was an irregularly shaped parcel. And I just made a plan. This entire plan, this 20 minutes of flying, was 10 steps in Dronelink, 10 repeatable components that I can now reuse at any other property that I need to do. One of my favorite shots is where I do this descent, and then I do at ground level a rotation right in the middle of the property. That qualifies as my ground shots. That's how I can stand, 800 feet back, still within line of sight, still complying with all the rules for anybody paying attention. But the key thing is that I had the drone fly both my aerial and my ground shots and make some really nice footage of me. For me, this bar, and I will go into the actual application shortly, but I wanted to have this material pre-prepared. One of the nice bars about this is everywhere you see a line, this is a video. These individual lines are pictures that the drone has taken. So I know before I even start flying the mission exactly how many videos I will have and exactly how many photos I'll have. And since I've got the preview window, I can make sure that they are framed appropriately or as close as possible. So that's planning. After planning comes execution. You go on site, you drive out there with your fully charged drones, you launch the Dronelink application, and this is what the application looks like. You log into your account. There's my drone sitting in my dirty office, but I wanted to show the user interface. I'm not going to try to train you on what every button does, but suffice it to say, it's a beautiful application. It's even when I'm not doing an automated mission, I would actually prefer to use this user interface over the DJI Fly or the Go or the Pilot 2 application. DJI has not made something as beautiful as this, where I can rearrange windows. I can make the Google Map full screen. I can make it a window. I can make it half screen. I can pop these windows out and rearrange them. It's just an elegant interface. And here I'm hitting the play button. It's that blue button right in the middle. I'll go ahead and hit play on a mission. Because the drone is sitting on my table with no propellers, it's not going to go anywhere. So it'll try to take off, not take off, and then stop the mission and fail. So, which is good because we don't want it flying around in my office trying to fly 30 miles away. But that's the application, and that's what it looks like. And it's an Android application. They do have it for iPhone, but just be aware, a lot of the drones now from DJI do not have an SDK for iPhone for the iOS Apple environment, but they do have the SDK for the Android environment. So again, Dronelink can only build and support what DJI supports. So there are some gotchas there. So after executing, well, you better get some results. I've got a link to the YouTube video here that I'll share, but I did just copy it into the presentation. So this is the actual, and I'm going to lower the volume here. Hopefully you guys aren't hearing that. My client likes a little bit of generic music associated with it. So that's me highlighting the parcel. And this is the actual video from the drone flying that mission. And so you can
how
see
are you doing that? That part, highlighting the parcel, is that part of the software, or is it something you have done as
I'm doing that in post-production in Final Cut. Final Cut on Mac has a lot of nice capabilities to do a rotoscope and highlight a parcel. So it's as simple as drawing a box around it, and then AI and Final Cut can help do the rest of it. But I love, and by the way, the client loves these too. I love these tracking shots where I'm doing push shots, I'm doing pull shots, I'm doing shots that, you know, I'm not the best pilot. I'll just be candid. My hand-eye coordination is not what it should be given all the video games that I've played. But this shot here where I tilt the gimbal down or do I'm just doing lots of little things that are hard for me to do when manually controlling the drone. And I know what some people are going to say. There's a lot of purists in the drone community that say you should practice until you get your skills up, and you need to learn this, and you need to be flying your drone. Well, I beg to differ, and I'm just going to do it my way. They're certainly entitled to their opinion, but that's how I get these pre-planned, well-done shots that really look good and are exactly what my client wants.
But it doesn't matter if the client is happy with the end result. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, and from a safety point of view, I could argue that by automating the mission, I've actually got more time to scan the sky, look for barriers, look for obstacles. I'm every bit as safe as any other drone pilot out there. And if I see a problem, I can stop the mission, I can ascend, descend, avoid. I'm good at doing that. So I'm going to play to my strengths and just do what I know works. So let me advance past that. So that's the results. Now I'm going to show the actual application, but there's 4 terms I just wanted to throw out there that are kind of dictionary terms. Think of Dronelink as like an application, if there's any developers out there, you can call me on it. I'll probably slaughter it. Think of it like GitHub, where you store your code. They use repositories or repos. You can have a repository, and in that repository, you can have mission components, you can have plans, and then you take a plan and actually execute it, then it becomes a mission. And you can even be changing a plan while a mission's flying, create a new, it's gonna fly that mission statically. It doesn't let you interrupt something that's already in the air, but it's just a beautiful layout and a beautiful way to organize things. So repositories have components and plans. Those plans become missions that you fly. And you do need the application running on either iPhone or Android. I prefer Android because the drones that I have, the newer model DJI drones, are really only SDK supported on Android. So a word of caution there again. So let's jump to, and again, anytime you want to interject with questions is A-okay.
There was just one here that, and I guess Michael Gobb wanted to ask if that concludes that it might work with the Triple Tech 8.
It does work with the Triple Tech 8. Yeah, so I actually fly it with the Triple Tech 9. I did have an 8. I will give one word of caution. The Triple Tech 8 is a nice tablet, don't get me wrong, but the CPU on the 8 is not generous. And so when I have a small mission, it works fine on the Triple Tech 8. When I have a larger mission with a lot of components, it does not work so fine. The Triple Tech 9 has a faster CPU. It is still not anywhere near what an iPad is, but it is a good tablet because of the brightness and the battery life. I love them, don't get me wrong, but the CPU is not their best attribute of power.
That would definitely be the reason to getting these, is because of the brightness.
Yeah. I do run Dronelink on the RC Pro controller, and it works great. I don't know what the CPU on the RC Pro controller is. but it's more than enough power to do anything.
Okay.
So yeah, absolutely. So this is the web interface, and again, I'm going to back out here and just kind of show you from the start. I've got an account. This is my control. I don't know what the formal name is for it in Dronelink, but I can tell you that my account has, as I said, repositories, plans, components. These are the missions that I've flown. Let's just break it down, and I'm going to filter by repositories. So here's my current repositories that I have, and I like to clean it up. I don't leave a lot of junk in there. But a mission I flew recently on Saturday was, having various missions planned out just to do, real simple orbits of properties based upon customer requests. Something a little more exotic was like that one that I showed. This is the actual mission that I created to fly that property. And you can see if you count down these blocks here, and they're all numbered on the left, 1 through 10, it was 10 steps to do the mission that we talked about. I started with making an orthomosaic map, and it was as simple as using the map component. I tell it which camera I'm shooting with. This was the Mavic 3 Enterprise, which altitude I wanted to fly it at, my overlaps. There's that high wind tolerance command I was talking about earlier. Which way is the gimbal facing? Everything is just in this form. So that's the map component. The orbits, let's take a peek at an orbit. I'm going to zoom out for that. I moved it. I'm going to move it back. I'm going to click cancel. Sorry, I got a little overzealous there. There's my orbit, and this is the center of the orbit. I flew that one at 350 feet. I know exactly what the center coordinates of that property are. 650 radius on 650 feet radius. The gimbal was at -14 degrees, and I was shooting video. I repeated that same orbit, and I shot photos every 7 seconds so that I would have a nice series of photos going all the way around as well to give to the client. I did a few special shots where I went out, took a photo from a certain location, shot an exposure bracketing sequence with different exposure values, and put that into Photoshop or Affinity and make a real nice hero shot for the customer's marketing. And then I fly to a checkpoint, and that just means fly here. And from this altitude, I did another checkpoint of 25 feet, shooting video all the way down. And I had told it, put the gimbal at -90. So I have a descent shot. Then I raised the gimbal, and then I did a rotation. And it was just these 10 steps, very repeatable, that gave me more than enough footage to make that 1 minute and 45-second property highlight video that you saw.
But the real strength in this, as I see it, is that you can sort of replay. You can play the mission before you go out. That's
absolutely.
That's
so there's
such an awesome thing.
Yeah. So there's the mission
sort
planner.
of like a virtual setup.
Right. So when you click the mission planner, it generates the preview. It takes a few seconds. Even on a fast machine, it takes a few seconds, and you get this little bar, and it's using Google Maps. I'm sorry, Google Earth. I should get the product right, in the right-hand side. And it's actually a little slider bar. And so you can see from takeoff to touchdown exactly where your drone will be and exactly what it's doing. It can estimate your battery life for you. You can see your altitude, you can see your horizontal distance. I was never more than 800 feet away on this mission. You can see the distance traveled total. So even though I was only 800 feet away, the drone flew about 3 miles that day to get all of that imagery. There's my speeds. I do program different speeds. I can go pretty fast with the Mavic 3 Enterprise because of the shutter, the manual shutter. It's just data, and it's all right there for you. I love it.
Yeah, because I find that is the most difficult thing to do when you do these automated flights. I have all these ideas how it would look,
right.
But if you have no way of testing it out, it rarely turns out really not so nice.
Well, one other feature that gave me a lot of business confidence for knowing what I'm going to do when I get to a site is I can drag this virtual drone. I can fly it around Google Earth. I can change and now we're flying way too high. So I think it dropped it on there at 700 feet. We're not gonna fly that high. Let's descend down to 150 feet and give it a pitch of -14 degrees on the gimbal. And I'm seeing a preview of what it would look like. And
Yeah.
maybe that looks photographic to me. Great. I'm gonna click the plus sign and choose photo. And now I've just added a photo taken exactly here to my plan. So the drone will fly here and take a photo and do exactly that. And
this is super, super powerful.
Yeah, this is the power. Now, where it gets to be business repeatable is, let's say I'm in the wrong spot and the realtor actually gave me the wrong address. Great. I'm going to come over here to the right property and I'm going to move all of my components over to here. And now I've moved it from where I was over here to where I needed to be at the right property, right? My entire mission, I can change my boundaries, my altitudes. If there's, again, it's not magic. You have to put some time and effort into it, but you can play
Is
the
there a
mission.
way of turning the complete mission? Can you turn that maybe, I don't know, 45 degrees clockwise if
Oh,
you
you
need
sure
to?
can. Yeah, you sure can. All of these components, I can rescale them. I can turn them. This is an irregular. This might be a bad example because it was an irregular property, but I can rotate the mapping direction. I can change. I can change where I start, where I stop. Look, Henrik. I mean, you still got to put a few minutes into mission planning.
Component that you are altering that.
Right. You can do it by component. You can do all of them. It's just, this has been what has truthfully. It's probably I want to be very clear about the value Dronelink has brought me. It is the only reason I've been able to get into the business and then actually do this profitably, because I can now hit 5 or 6 properties on a day, knowing full well that the mission's been fully automated and that it's going to use components and settings that I like. Like if I like certain camera settings, I can pre-build the component that does these camera settings exactly as I like. If I like certain radio frequencies, I can have the drone use, rather than going into the DJI menu and changing these things, I can just build these as programmable components. Choose 2.4 or 5.8 gigahertz or dual band, or certain gimbal settings. I can reset them after each. Again, this is what's giving you the real keys to your drone, that would otherwise be a lot of fumbling around from your tablet. So the other nice thing it does is it keeps a record of all of your missions. I mean, I clean up my repositories, but you can see I've got 700 plus missions in there, and just even if it doesn't have a green check mark doesn't mean it wasn't successful from a business perspective. Sometimes I'll stop the mission when I have everything I need and not let it complete. But every green check mark and even these gray boxes are a sign of cha-ching. It was all a good experience for me to go out, use the drone in an automated fashion, meet my mission objective, and bring home fantastic video to the client. So here was an ortho mosaic for looks like this was a car dealership if I had to guess, but again, and this was when I was still flying the Mavic 2 Pro. Great drone, works with Dronelink. Just plenty of goodness here with the application. They do their support in community forums online. They have a really good support community of fellow drone pilots. It's not toxic, so I think you'd like it. There's a few names in there like Martin and Barry and Mike. These guys tend to just, if you've got a question on how to do something, I put my question in there and one of these guys has answered it in half an hour. They're very collaborative and they help you build a mission like you'd like. So that's Dronelink, and don't really have any more to say about it other than the fact it's made my business possible.
Yeah, it's super interesting. It's definitely something that I would need to look into.
Yeah,
especially when I can use the Mini 3 Pro. I do have the Mavic 2 Pro, so maybe that one is useful as well. And
Works
I might
perfect.
even use the I have the old smart controller, even though that's a horrible piece of hardware. I still have it, and so yeah, I don't know. So,
The smart controller, and I did have one. I loved it for about the first day and a half, and then I realized that it was out of date well before I even bought it. Yeah, it's. I don't believe the smart controller should be used with Dronelink because even even the Triple Tech 8 doesn't really cut it. So get
okay,
some modern horsepower.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, but super cool. It's I think you answered everything because there's not that many questions.
Good. Well, maybe doing this in the middle of the workday, we missed a lot of attendees, but it's an ongoing adventure. I'm in your school community, and if anybody's got any questions, either reach out to me or get into the Dronelink support forum. And again, don't listen to me in there, but if you talk to Martin or Barry or Mike, just remember those three names. They've helped me so much, and they are just they're not Dronelink employees. They're just fellow Dronelink users, and I think they have
Yeah,
probably a lot more drone experience than I do. But they seem to know how to make Dronelink make your drone do anything that you want. And it's just been very, very helpful to me. So I know they'll be helpful to you as well.
yeah, and as an example, some year I actually got a task similar to the ones that you've been doing, where I had to film like a construction near the freeway, and they wanted the same mission repeated over and over again, and they actually paid pretty good money for it. But I didn't have the equipment and the skills to do it. At that time I had the Mavic Air, so there was not even enough battery to complete a full flight, and it was like a nightmare to
Right.
complete this in a good way. So
Right.
so that didn't end as good as I wanted it to.
Yeah, yeah. I won't say everything's always been perfect and goes swimmingly for me, but it sure at the current state of affairs, when you take a Mini 3 or a Mavic 3 Enterprise or a Mavic 2 Pro with nice fresh batteries and a good flight time and a good solid mission, you can get some gold. And if you can fly it once and it works great, you can fly it 100 times and it's going to work just as great each and every time. It's just it's fun. And I think this really was that extra push that I needed to turn a hobby into something more productive from a revenue perspective. So yeah, this is an invaluable tool. And even when I was using Dronelink as a hobbyist, I was just wowed with how accurate I could be on each and every shot. So yeah, if you can't tell, I really like it.
Yeah, yeah. But I also see from all the dots here. So there's this question here, and I want to answer this. And because normally these type of live streams is that they will not be publicly available afterwards on replay. They will be available for channel members for my YouTube channel. It will also be available for members of the First Drone Academy. But I will not put them out so they are publicly available. That is not the plan. So there's another good question here for you, Tony.
Oh yeah,
I think
Chris,
you
that's
answered it shortly, but
yeah. No, Chris, you've
so,
got exactly the right question. How did I go about getting my first ones? So I did it a few different ways, and I found some methods are more successful than others. Um, like a lot of people, I made myself available on Droners and would bid on some jobs that would pop up. That's one way to meet some clients. I also ran about $20 worth of Google ads. And interestingly enough, that paid for itself. And I actually turned them off because I was getting enough direct calls. So real simple website that I've since accidentally blown up and rebuilt, and it's terrible. So the website doesn't count. I'm really not advertising anymore. I've got all the business I can handle. It started from the advertisements and then just relationship building, working with the various pilot networks, making sure that they know who you are, what you can provide, what area you service, and then just staying in touch with them. Even if it's a droner's job, After the job, I make sure to stalk them a little bit and send them a thank you card in the mail with my company name and logo and contact info. Just keep, it's common courtesy. Just follow up and be a good business citizen. But that's how I got the first clients, and I can say that my first clients are my current clients. I've grown it slowly with a new client here and there, but I've still got my first set of clients, and I think that's why I've got all the work I can handle. So yeah, I hope I've answered your question, Chris. That was my path.
So let's see, there's a few on there. Let's see, this one, does Air2S support it? I don't think so.
Yes, yeah, Air2S is supported. I actually had an
Okay.
Air2S. It does have an SDK. I did fly it with Dronelink. Full disclosure, I have since sold it, so I don't know how it's, I would assume it's still working great these days, but Air2S, great drone, very fun to fly. And I did, as soon as they initially had Dronelink support, that's one of those V4, V4 SDK drones. It did work, just like the Mini 2. Mini 2 works. So Mini 2 and Air2S, both kind of in that same class of SDK, they do work with Dronelink. Double check all of my info on Dronelink's actual website. They have really nice tables that show you this info. In case something has changed, I don't want to be wrong and give you some bad info. I see you're on a motorcycle, so I know you're the real deal. But yeah, it's definitely check Dronelink's support list. They have tables that will guide you on all that. But my experience was Air2S worked really, really good. What a great drone.
Yeah, definitely a nice drone. It ran into a lot of problems in Europe after the end of year because of legislation. Then you're not allowed to fly it in the city, and that puts a limitation to that drone. So
yeah, politician inflicted damage. That's what that is. That's purely politicians interjecting in themselves into our hobby. Terrible.
So now the questions are pouring in here. So it's to the
We
wild
have
to get people
answers.
started. So then this one, drones, not familiar. Is a mapping service, or are you pitching? Do you know what that means?
Yeah, Chris. So I referred to Droners. That's a pilot network. It's droners.io. It's a think of it like Swap Shop. It's like a board where people will post their job, and then if you're in their system as a 107 pilot, you can bid on it. If you get awarded the work, you deliver the work. They pay you through Droners. It's more just like a platform. Think of it like Uber, except for drone work. So I've been referring to droners.io. And again, I'm not trying to do a commercial for them. I've had both good and bad experiences with it. This is not a voucher for it, but it is one way
It's a
to
way
get
to
work.
maybe
And,
put yourself out there.
yeah. I mean, Chris, your initial question was, how'd you get your first clients? And Droners is think of it as a service and a payment platform that connects you with people wanting drone work done. And you can sort it by distance from your zip code or address, I believe. So if I saw an interesting job in the area, I would bid on it and take it. When I first got started, I hate to admit it, I probably devalued some of the other drone efforts. I think they call them bottom feeders, right? But it's like, okay, I really want to get this business. I'm going to try to earn it by being cheap. I no longer do that and haven't done that for some time. I actually now put in bids that are well over what the customer's budgeted amount is on the job. So if they put a job up for 200, I will look at the area, I'll look at the real work involved, and then I'll put in a bid that is respectful of my time, not just what they want to pay. So I'll just caution you,
This
if
is
you
how
do
it's
go in,
supposed to be.
yeah, don't try to be the cheapest person out there. You've got to plan your mission. You've got to have insurance. You've got to have your licensing, your equipment, your batteries, your time, your gas. We're going beyond the scope of your question, but I just want to get my advice out there, which is don't
But
underbid the
it's
job.
true, if you use price as your only bargaining chip, would always be someone that will do it cheaper, and maybe even for free.
Yeah, and now that I'm established and I'm proud of and I don't always do super high quality work. If the customer just wants something quick and rough, I'll turn in bad homework. But if they're paying for high quality, I now have the ability to give high quality, and I'm very happy to charge for high quality work and deliver it.
Sure.
And you also have to have it budgeted in. What happens if the customer's not happy? So you need to have some room for discounting. Just be fair to
Yeah.
yourself. Get those customers, Chris. Good luck with that, and be fair to yourself.
There's this one. If
Yeah,
we can use
Dronelink
it to
can do
generate
the
3D models.
capture. Yeah, the answer on that, Dogzilla Monster, love the name. So Dogzilla Monster, it doesn't actually generate the model. What I do is I take the assets that Dronelink captures and then put them into either Drone Deploy, one of the Pix 4D applications, or sorry, the one I'm thinking of is Open Drone Map, WebODM. So
Yeah,
I
there's
can.
WebODM.
Yeah. So Dronelink is great at helping you capture the assets. So it's a capture application and a virtual stick application, but it does not actually do the next step of providing models. Can it use 48?
So it's
Yes,
more
it
like
can.
a capture.
Yeah.
So
And
it's basically
it can
just a capture device.
definitely a great capture device. So Ken is asking, can it use 48 megapixel? Yes, that's a camera setting that you can control, and yeah, you can have Dronelink shoot using the 48 megapixel capability of the Mini 3. Super good question. On this one, I don't know.
It's not a piece of tracking stuff, no.
So it is. They've got some on-the-fly missions. When you're not using a pre-prepared mission, it does have. I think it uses the SDK to do some active track. Full disclosure, this is not how I use Dronelink, and Dronelink does a lot more than I know about. So I haven't tried to do tracking while using Dronelink. I've only done tracking while using the DJI application. So Dogzilla Monster, full disclosure, I don't really know the answer to that question with certainty. So I think you would need to check in with Dronelink themselves. I would hit up that community forum that I talked about. Somebody there will know.
Christopher Sales wants to know if there's support for Mavic 3 and Inspire 2. At least I know one of them.
I know the answer is no for Mavic 3. Mavic 3, and I owned both the original Mavic 3, the Mavic 3 Cine, and the Mavic 3 Pro Cine. None of those three have the SDK, and I have personally complained about it in the DJI developer forums many, many times, and there's not a darn thing that Dronelink can do about that, Christopher, because DJI has chosen to make the enterprise class the only class with the SDK. And then they released the SDK for the Mini 3 Pro, which makes no sense.
That doesn't make sense.
Considering what I just said. So there's a little bit of Chinese logic going on there. I'm not quite sure how they're arriving at these decisions. I don't like the decisions. And if it did support the Mavic 3, and I'm still, deep down in my heart, I'm still kind of hoping that it will one day have an SDK. Since the Mavic 3 Enterprise does, why not the Mavic 3 Pro?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I don't fly an Inspire myself, so I don't know about the Inspire. Again, check the, nothing that we say here should replace Dronelink, and it's dronelink.com. Check out their table of supported drones. They make it about as easy as possible. So get on the interweb and check out their current support list. Mavic 3 Pro does not. No. Yeah, sorry. The Mavic 3 Pro is just like the Mavic 3 Cine and Mavic 3 Classic. DJI did not release an SDK for that. So isn't that strange? And I don't know how to say it, Seralves74. I find it strange that they support the Mini 3 Pro with the SDK, but not the Mavic 3 Pro. And so I would encourage you, since you obviously must own that hardware or are thinking about it, let DJI know you'd really love them to support that with an SDK. I know I would. You'll have my vote for president if they do that.
But there is a place. What is it? The developer side. Did you just say that? I was just reading comments. So
Yeah.
the developer side, you can write comments in there and ask like feature requests and stuff like that. So it's just get in there
Yeah.
and make your point.
Yeah, make your point. I think what you'll be doing is adding your voice to the fire. I have a lot of
Yeah.
mixed thoughts and mixed emotions about DJI. I'm not sure they truly care what the consumer wants, given their commercial success. You'd think that they would, but to date, they have not supported that.
No. Okay, so this one I guess is also questionable if that would work.
So I think it's more than just the processor. I think before somebody can say that an Android, that a Sony Z3, you know, a very specific model with a very specific version of Android, before I can say that that would work, I think you would need to have all that equipment and test it. You know, the Android
Yeah, otherwise
ecosystem.
go to the Dronelink support
Yeah,
and
yeah,
and ask there.
yeah. That's the problem with Android. You know, I love Android. I love iOS. But the Android hardware community has to deal with a lot of bifurcation of manufacturers, variants. It's really impossible for me to give you a thumbs up or a thumbs down, Thomas. So again, I don't know unless I had that exact combination. If you have all that, you can try. You could download the app and give it a shot and see what you get without spending any money, I believe.
So here's a technical question: how to get better maps and satellite images for planning?
I think Dronelink is the provider of the maps and satellite images, and I think what Lindsay's referring to is a valid comment. You know, when you're using Dronelink, the imagery sometimes they're not using, I think, the latest version of Google Maps. I don't know where they source their map data, but the map and satellite images are not the best or not the most current. What I do to get and Lindsay, of course, the obvious answer to that question is let Dronelink know that you feel that that could be improved. You know, their company CEO, Jim McAndrews, is in their forums. He does see those comments, and I don't know where it's at on the roadmap to do that, but make your voice heard. I do have a workaround. From Dronelink, you can export a Google Earth, I believe it's a KML or KMZ file. You can export that file, put it into Google Earth, and you'll be seeing it with Google's imagery, which I think is the gold standard of satellite imagery.
Yeah.
So you can, I do that sometimes. I'll export a pre-planned mission in Dronelink, export it to Google Earth, and just take a look and make sure that there's no power lines or vegetation that I'm not expecting, or some new construction that's going to smack into my drone. So they hit me. I don't hit them. They hit me. So that, Ken, your question is when on a mission. So when the drone is actually executing the mission, does it have obstacle avoidance? I believe that's what you're asking when you say spatial awareness. Does it still bypass if necessary? Certain versions do and certain do not. So like right now, the Mavic 3 Enterprise and the Mini 3 Pro, because the new V5 of the DJI SDK does not have obstacle avoidance in the SDK, the drone will be flying without obstacle avoidance on those models. If it's using the older SDK, yeah, but again, I mean, you're still right there. You still have your controller. You still have your camera. The 700 plus missions I've shown, I've not smacked into anything. It's, you know,
No, and of
but
course
I agree with
you're not
Ken.
planning to fly through the building or stuff like that. So
Yeah,
it's like
yeah,
you
yeah.
kind of know where the drone is supposed to be.
But to Ken's point,
So
obstacle avoidance or spatial awareness, it's still something that is that nice insurance policy that we all like to have. I did look at the Dronelink forums. And by the way, Dronelink, great development staff that is pushing DJI to do better. They have identified that to DJI, and they are working on, you know, at least I can't speak for DJI any more than I can speak for Dronelink, but Dronelink has said they're pushing to get that in a future release available from DJI. So a little bit of collaboration going on there, which is good.
do you know if they support other drones than DJI?
They've got Autel in the list. They've got many different Autel models in the list, and they've done some betas. And I know that at one time, I think they were talking about Skydio, but Skydio, I think, no longer has a public API. I think they made that private and a paid thing. So, again, I don't know if I would buy a new drone again. I do this all the time. I buy drones that don't have it, so maybe I'm not taking my own advice. But if you're out there shopping for a drone, I think an SDK, having an API and SDK is very consumer friendly and is the right.
But it rarely is. It's rarely available once they release the drone. It's something that drizzles in like a half a year or a year later.
Yeah, and all you get in the meantime is a promise that could be broken. So yeah, it's a real challenge. Yeah.
So there's a follow-up question here from Lindsay.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, Lindsay, and I mean, I can't even imagine how that would work for like a dock user too. I mean, with the new docks that are available, what a great idea. So if you've got a trigger, you're firing the drone off to go do a quick flight. I love that use case. That's brilliant.
There's another one here, which I have been thinking about, is this using it for roof inspections, because if this is something that you're going to do on the same building on a regular basis, it would be kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah, and Christian, it sounds like you know exactly what you're going to be doing. You just move your mission to the roof that you're going to inspect and create those photo mosaics. Yeah, I mean, it's good to hear. I know a lot of people are using it. I'm by far not the only person that's discovered this magic.
He's using a Pixhawk.
Very cool.
What is Pixhawk? Is that the 3D? What is that? A flight controller?
Yeah, I think that's where he's taking his assets that he's captured and turning it into a deliverable for his client.
Okay.
Very cool.
There's still stuff in here that's new to me. So maybe I should do a series how to become a professional drone pilot. Like going from amateur status to getting your first client, going to fly your first mission, going to sort of all the making the deliverables. I don't know.
Just print the business card. Add the label professional. Hell, DJI adds the word professional to all of their drones. Just call yourself Tech Drone Media Pro.
Yeah, but you could. I've seen a lot of these videos where people are doing these challenges. I want to do affiliate marketing for 1 week and then make $1,000. So if you could somehow twist that concept into a video concept, like I want to land my first 5 drone clients within 30 days and earn $1,000, maybe. I don't know. Maybe that could be a fun project.
Well, I think you can.
It will get you laser focused at least on what you're doing.
Yeah, I think you can make a lot more than 1,000 for 30 days. I think a couple of $500 jobs and you'll be set. You'll be at your goal and you'll be twiddling your thumbs. So, yeah, there's a lot of demand out there. The key is making yourself available and building the channel. So, great stuff. Oh, I hope you didn't freeze up again, Henrik. Well, I think there you go. You're back.
I think I'm being kicked out.
Yeah, I see you moving again. All right. Well, on behalf of Henrik, I suspect that the live stream has come to an end. So I'll drop Henrik, and again, great to meet. Great to work with you, and great to handle the questions. Oh, you're back. All right.
So now it's working again.
that or you were wrapping it up.
I think we should wrap it up because we had at least one breakdown. Apart from that, it was going really, really well. And thank you very much, Tony, for being here on the show and telling about this really, really interesting stuff. So hope we can do it again some other time, maybe on another time that's more suitable, maybe in the weekends, like we talked about, so more people can join, so it's not in the middle of the day.
Yeah, that'd be
So,
fun anytime.
all
And it
right.
sounds like you've got some other Dronelink users and some really interesting use cases. Those should be definitely talked about. I love the security example as well. Great stuff.
Yeah. So,
All right.
cool.
Take care.
Thank you. So, yeah, take care. And thank you to the rest of you for listening in here. And as you can see here in the bottom, this live stream will be available for members of the YouTube channel as well as members of the First Drone Academy. So I will sign off now. Thank you for joining and have a nice day.